Hi, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for tuning in to join us. For those who haven't met me in the past, I'm Jenna Shulman, JELF CEO, and so proud to be continuing our longstanding tradition JELF has by calling to order this 145th annual meeting. This year, as you all know, was our second COVID year. And as you can imagine, it was a little harder to plan for a year, but I'm thrilled to report that despite several twists and turns along the way, it was a year filled with many accomplishments for JELF across the board, some of which you'll be hearing about tonight. One point that I did want to share is that this year, JELF served 400 students, which, as some of you who are good with numbers might recall, closely matches the 396 students that JELF served in 2020, which was a 33% increase from the year prior. So when it comes to serving an equal amount of students this year, there are two interesting points that I thought I would make and that I've observed throughout the year. First, I've been watching this closely. National college enrollment levels are down 6.5% compared to just 2 years ago. And while this may not seem like a lot, it's the largest 2-year enrollment drop in the last 50 years. And second, while we served the same number of students this year, there was a jump in the overall need per student based on several timely factors, including inflation and many of the new costs incurred for students due to COVID, like additional cleaning fees and medical care. So now, when you consider the fact that the average person was certainly not equipped for inflation this past year, and then you think about it from a college student's perspective, the sheer difference in dollars needed for college between 2019 and 21 is literally pushing a disproportionate number of students to just drop out of school. And what this really does tell me is that JELF's ability to help these students through loans that don't accrue interest is more important than ever before. But the fact that JELF's enrollment remains steady also speaks volumes to our culture as a Jewish community and to the students and to the families that we serve. Our values of placing higher education on a pedestal of life priorities. And this is where it makes me especially proud to serve our Jewish community in this way. So for those who have never attended an annual meeting in person, JELF's annual meetings had become very lively social gatherings in past years. So while continuing to be on Zoom is not the same, there are benefits, on top of which is being able to reach a much larger and wider audience than before. I said it last year and I'll say it again, but for a nonprofit that serves a unique 5-state region with alumni who are now spread all over the world, and I just thank you all for joining us here tonight. My remarks would not be complete without proper thank yous to those who have been most influential in this recent part of our JELF journey together. First, of course, my devoted, energetic, amazing staff. They never say no. They always work hard with a smile until we get the job done. And to Jane Aronoff, our fearless leader these past 2 years. As board chair during a pandemic, her role certainly included a very different set of challenges than could have been predicted just 2 years ago tonight when she was sworn in. So regardless of the fact that we didn't actually see her very many times in person, Jane's presence was very much felt. And between the endless Zoom meetings and the countless challenging situations we faced together, she's been there for us tirelessly. And amongst many important people we applaud tonight, Jane is truly on the top of this list. So thank you, Jane, for all you have done to lead and serve JELF. My silent applause. Last, I just want to wish a very special mazel tov to Richard Jacobson, who I'm honored to call our newest recipient of the Kunin Service Award. You know, working with Richard these past 5 years has been an honor and a pleasure, and I know you'll enjoy hearing more about him later in our program. And I would now like to turn our Zoom over to Rabbi Alexandria Shubal-Weiner, who is Senior Rabbi at Temple Beth Tikva in Roswell, Georgia. She also serves as president of the Atlanta Rabbinical Association and as well as sits on the National Board of Shemayim. And she also happens to be the personal rabbi of JELF's incoming board chair, Rob Rickles. I hope you all will enjoy the rest of our program.
Thank you, everyone. It is such an honor to be here, and a huge mazel tov to Jane for all the work that you have done, and to Rob as you assume this new leadership role. Our Torah portion for this week is Parashat Vayigash, from Genesis chapters 44 through 47. It is part of the continuation of the Joseph narrative, and this week we find ourselves right in the heart of the famine that Pharaoh dreamed. To set the stage, let me remind you all of a few key understandings. The Pharaoh had been having recurring dreams of which neither he nor his council were able to decipher. Joseph, who had been languishing for 2 years in the pits of Egypt, has been brought up from his imprisonment because of his unique ability to offer clarity to the warnings issuing through Pharaoh's dreams. Last week and this week's portions are always falling sometime around Hanukkah because of the various miracles that are at play in these verses. The first miracle is that Pharaoh is sent a message from God with the warning of the impending agricultural disaster. There will be 7 years of plenty to be followed by 7 years of famine throughout the region. The nation state will survive only if the dreamer understands and responds proactively to the dream prediction. And Pharaoh is paying attention. He desperately attempts to unlock the message by any means possible. The miracle is that he is open and he is willing to receive. The second miracle, Joseph. Joseph is a foreigner. He is an incarcerated young man. He is less than nobody in the world of the Egyptian court, and yet he is seen. He is given a chance to use his gifts, the opportunity to offer his thoughts, his understanding of what is to unfold. This Hebrew, this other, who is discovered in the deepest pit of Egypt, is elevated and will hold the second most important position in the empire, the one to oversee the process that will save not only Egypt, but all of the ancient world, including his homeland of Canaan. He is a person that, when given a chance, does great things. When this week's parasha opens, the setting of the narrative is 2 years into the management of the 7-year famine. Joseph is actively engaged in the oversight of food distribution to all who are in need from across the region. He has attained power, wealth, and affluence. He could, if he desired, turn his nose up to anyone below his newly found station. Moreover, he had the capacity to take revenge upon any and all who did him harm in his past. And here is where the third miracle occurs. When Joseph comes face to face with his brothers, those who had bullied him, hated him, and brought him great harm, from his elevated position, he saw them, perhaps for the first time ever, as human beings in need of help. And so, from a place of rachmanut, of compassion, he used his position to help. He gave to them. He gave them food. He gave them an opportunity to grow and to thrive. And it is in this moment of reunion that redemption comes to Joseph's family of origin, the house of Yaakov. Had Joseph not been in that place at that particular time, who knows what might have been lost? Vaishlacheni Elohim lifnechem, l'sum lachem sharit ba'aretz. God sent me ahead to assure your survival and to keep you alive for great deliverance. Now, our world is vastly different from the one which Joseph functioned. But the challenge remains how to position ourselves to bring forth miracles every day, miracles of deliverance. This is what JELF has always done and continues to do. The gathering and the sharing of financial resources, getting help to people in need, empowering them to reach their potential, making it possible to pursue their dreams for higher education, and to be relieved of debt that can burden a family for years. In the words of the great Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sachs of blessed memory, dreams are where we visit the landscape of human possibility. God has sent you all to bring great deliverance to those whose dreams might otherwise never come to fruition, if not for the assistance of a JELF loan. May you all gain much joy and satisfaction from the incredibly wonderful organization for which you are a part. You are the redeemer of dreams. And if I may offer one more word, our community is truly blessed to have Rob Rickles again stepping into this position of board chair. His passion and commitment to this organization is tremendous. As a community leader, Rob, like Joseph, brings all of his gifts, talents, and standing to his work. He receives each person he meets with a countenance of kindness and a readiness to assist whenever it is needed. And just as Rob received help as a young student, he sees it a holy obligation to repay the generosity afforded to him by helping to make dreams possible for others. This commitment to moving forward, the very blessing that he received, is a true testament to the power and the purpose of JELF. So Rob, may you be blessed in your new role as board chair. And may all of you, all who support JELF, all who continue to make it thrive, continue to go from strength to strength. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi, for honoring us and Rob with your wonderful Devar Torah. I'm Jane Aronoff, the outgoing chair of JELF. I told Jenna recently that being JELF's first COVID chair really made the last 2 years fly by. And in some ways, everything we worked on seems like a blur because I was doing it from home. But we were incredibly, incredibly busy. I'm going to say something about our staff in a moment, but this year we celebrated Kathy Miller's 20th anniversary. Kathy is our COO and is indispensable to our organization. She possesses the organization's history in her head and handles with patience and grace everything we throw at her. We hope that we have Kathy with us for many, many more years. And one of the things that at JELF we do is we have events because we want to spread the word in order to raise more money and help more students. Obviously, during 2020, we weren't able to do that. But in 2021, we were able to start having some events, the first being a virtual event with the best-selling author John Gordon last June. And then in August, when the weather was very warm, we had a young donor event outside in a very large backyard here in Atlanta. In September, New York had reopened, so we were able to have an alumni gathering for a happy hour. And once again in the fall, we were able to participate in the kosher barbecue festival in Dunwoody. And it was really, really wonderful to be able to see people again, talk to people face to face, and fingers crossed we'll be able to do more of that in the year ahead. Josh and Jenna managed to travel at the end of this year to see donors, and they're looking forward to doing much more of that in 2022. Our board continued to move forward to set the foundation for our future by working on our current strategic plan. One of those tasks was a bylaws change that led to our board passing an investment policy for the first time in our history. As you heard from Jenna, while our application numbers were stable this year, the need, of course, increased. Our fundraising efforts were in overdrive to help our students. And in a few minutes, you will hear from our incoming chair, Rob Rickles, about a Shemitah initiative that he brought to the organization. The last thing that really was on our plate at the last part of this year was that we decided we're going to be moving. Come the first quarter of 2022, we will be moving our office space to Sandy Springs, Georgia. And that has taken a lot of time and effort from our staff to do that. And we thank them very, very much for all their time and effort. I've been with many nonprofits in my lifetime, and without a doubt, JELF has the most professional, dedicated, and talented staff that I have ever had the pleasure of working with. We have a small staff, but each takes complete ownership and pride in what they do. Without each and every one of them, JELF would not have been able to achieve all that we have over the last few years. I am so happy now to pass the torch to our incoming chair, Rob Rickles. Rob and I have worked together closely this past year on the transition, and he is without a doubt one of the nicest people that I know. I want to thank you all for giving me the honor of serving this wonderful organization and being a part of the important work that it does to give our students the opportunities that they seek. It is now my pleasure to introduce one of our past presidents, Dr. Judy Woolman, who will install the incoming JELF board.
Past president of JELF from 1999 to 2001, it's an honor for me tonight to be able to once again be a part of JELF's 145th annual meeting to do the installation of JELF's board and officers. But first, I'd like to recognize, thank, and discharge the board members who will be leaving JELF board after this term. Eddie Burnbury and Caroline Oppenheimer, who've both served for 1 3-year term. Kathy Brown, who will be terming out after 3 consecutive terms and more than 20 years of involvement and service to JELF. I actually remember fondly when her husband said, "You've got the wrong Brown on the board." Heidi Geller, who will be terming out after 3 consecutive terms of 9 years on the board, including serving as board development co-chair. Edie Coonan, who will be exiting the board after 2 consecutive terms and 3 years as JELF's loan program co-chair. I will now announce the names of the 11 individuals who will renew their term to serve on JELF's 2022-2024 Board of Directors slate. I know that all of you are here with us, but since it's difficult to see all of you at once, instead, I'll ask that if you're here, just raise your hand, keep it up throughout the vote so we can best see and acknowledge you. Jane Aronoff, Justin Barry, Warren Binderman, Joanne Burnbury, Philip Kahn, Mark Kopkin, Ross Linzer, Rob Rickles, Ian Roth, Bob Thompson, and Dr. Steve Warniker. And the following 5 individuals who will be joining JELF's Board of Directors for their first term: Irene Aronin, Ariel Bernberg, Richard Perez, Jared Self, and last but certainly not least, my own daughter, Stacy Shapiro, who's known about JELF since she was a little girl and is now carrying on our family's JELF legacy as a new member of the board. And now our 2020 slate of officers: Board Chair Rob Rickles, immediate past Chair Jane Aronoff, Vice Presidents Jeff Alpern, Stan Lowenstein, Nancy Galanti, Marianne Garber, Emily Sauertag, Secretary Greg Galis. Treasurers are 2 PKs, Philip Kahn and Philip Krieger, and officers at large: Joanne Burnbury, who represents Resource Development, Kevin Rubin, Strategic Planning, and Bob Thompson, Investment Committee Chair. Now, I'd like to ask for a motion from a member of JELF's current Board of Directors to approve this slate, which you can unmute yourself for or use the raise hand feature. And do we have a second to the motion? Great. Any abstentions? Now we'll take a vote. If you're a member of the JELF board, please raise your hands. Okay. I am proud to announce that JELF's 2022-2024 slate for Board of Directors and Executive Officers has been approved. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you all so much for once again giving me the opportunity to install JELF's board and officers virtually this year. I look forward to seeing all of you again in person soon.
Good evening, everyone. I am so honored to serve as the JELF board chair. Though it's my second stint leading the board, for all the right reasons, it feels like an entirely different organization with a new set of opportunities and challenges. Let me begin by thanking Judy Woolman for leading our installation. I know this assignment was especially meaningful for you as you installed Stacy as a new member of our board. Lador Vador visits JELF, and that was wonderful. To our outgoing board members, we thank you for your many contributions, but we also remind you that board membership is not a prerequisite for being a member of the JELF family. I hope you will stay close and continue to make JELF a top priority among your volunteer efforts. Next, congratulations to all our new board members and those taking on new roles. For some of you, this step will mean new opportunities to use your skills and talents to further JELF's mission. For others, it will mean new leadership responsibilities and a chance to put your own mark on JELF. I encourage you to bring your ideas and challenge me and each other as we work together to get the right answer. This is a most Jewish of traditions and one that will surely be essential if JELF is to continue to have a meaningful impact into the future. Along the way, I know you will get a lot of satisfaction for your efforts. Rabbi Shuval Weiner, thank you for your beautiful words of Torah and for all you do for Temple Beth Tikva and the wider community. You are an inspiration, and Ellen and I are so grateful for your friendship and for your support of JELF. Jane, I want to congratulate you on a job well done. Thank you for exemplifying what true leadership is during this crazy time. While so many of us were distracted by concerns closer to home, our families, our friends, our work, our Zoom backdrops, you kept steering this ship in a straight line. Together with our amazing staff and volunteers, you ensured that we met our commitments to those we serve and managed to lead us to even greater success than anyone could have imagined. I have been honored to serve with you. With any luck, this pandemic will wind up in the rearview mirror during my term as chair. But if not, I can only hope to perform this job as calmly and competently as you have. Thank you for all you've done, and I'm grateful for our friendship. To our fantastic staff, I once thought of you as experts in FAFSA forms and tax returns and fundraising and loan application processing, but your capabilities are so much more expansive than that. Your skills extend deep into the arts of social media, technology, taxes, banking, investments, psychology, and now commercial real estate. You are jacks of all trades and master of every one of them. You always amaze me, and I am so excited to continue our work together. JELF is an organization that looks ahead. From our long-term strategic planning work inspired by Mary Ann Garber, to our investments in technology to make our processes more efficient. And while we continue to be focused on our core mission of providing interest-free loans, we are not afraid to try new things. One of these new things is our Shemitah campaign that Jane had mentioned. It's in commemoration of the 7th year of the sabbatical cycle described in the Torah. The current Shemitah year began with Rosh Hashanah in September. For those not familiar with this ancient tradition, it has many facets, but one of those is the mitzvah of Jews forgiving the debt of Jewish creditors. We dipped our toe into this a bit last year with the encouragement of a family foundation that provided $30,000 to JELF for loan forgiveness. That experience was incredibly inspiring. I encourage you to visit jelf.org/forgive to see the impact that initiative had on the repayers who participated. It will be a very meaningful experience for you as well. Perhaps it was fortuitous, though I tend to think it was divine intervention, that on the heels of that initiative, the Shemitah year was approaching. It was the intersection of JELF's mission with a beautiful Jewish tradition. With the leadership of our Resource Development Committee, we set out to create a Shemitah fund. I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could raise $25,000 for Shemitah without impacting our core fundraising effort? Well, little did we know that the Shemitah campaign would inspire JELF board members and other supporters in dramatic ways. We received 2 matching gift commitments for a total of $150,000. If we could raise $150,000 by calendar year end, we would receive the full match for a total of $300,000 for Shemitah. I am so proud to report that we have now raised that $150,000, which will be matched in full. Our $300,000 Shemitah fund will be used in the coming years to relieve the debt of repayers who demonstrate extreme financial need. Thank you to those of you who have participated in the campaign. I want to especially acknowledge the essential role played by Stan Lowenstein, Jane, Jenna, and Josh, who had the vision and the passion to turn this idea into a reality. The year is not out yet, and while we've achieved our match goals, the Shemitah campaign will continue for a few more weeks, so please check in with Josh if you'd like to participate. Shemitah is just one of the ways that JELF is looking to the future. As part of our strategic plan, we are exploring whether there are communities and constituencies within our region and beyond in which JELF can make a difference. This work, led by Jeff Alperin, is in the early stages, but if JELF can play a constructive role without distracting from our core mission, I believe it is incumbent upon us to take a closer look. The future of JELF is exciting in so many ways. I know the role of chair will have its challenges, but I inherit a board and professional staff that is as effective as I've seen in my nearly 20 years as a volunteer. I will do everything I can to build on our progress and to make sure our board members and staff get the support they need to succeed. Thank you for your confidence in me, and I look forward to serving as your chair. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce to you a very special JELFie, Jordan McGee, to share his JELF journey with you.
Am I unmute? Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm unmuted. In spite of the fact that I'm a millennial, I am not the most technically advanced. So hello, everybody. My name is Jordan McGee, and firstly, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be in the position to speak to you as a former JELF recipient, but also to be given the stage, so to speak, to share my story. I grew up in Irmo, South Carolina as the youngest of 6, and there were actually 10 years between me and my next sibling. So my parents had a lot on their plates as far as household expense goes. And when most people are matriculating through school, you have about 18 years to kind of brace yourself for the onset of financial obligations that higher education requires. But I went to AHA in Greensboro my sophomore year. And so right out the gate, my parents and my family were hit with some pretty high educational bills. So I left AHA and wound up going to North Carolina School of the Arts. And the program that JELF provides really enabled me and my family to be able to afford a college education that was a complete godsend. Fast forward, and I find myself in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I happen to be in a car accident. The car accident left me in a coma for 2.5 weeks and then the hospital for 3.5 months. So needless to say, I started to fall behind on my loan repayment, but Kathy and the team at JELF were incredibly flexible and very accommodating. And my family and I cannot speak highly enough of the organization and the principles by which you operate. So I am doing my best to give back however I'm able. So in Charlotte, I served on the loan review, and tonight I am taking up a little bit of your time to thank you again and also to share my own story. So thank you for the opportunities that you have allowed me and that we are continuing to work to be able to provide to these next generations of Jewish children.
First of all, I'm so glad that you look so great and you've recovered from your accident. But thank you for continuing participating in JELF programs and alumni programs and being a part of JELF. And hopefully we'll have you apart for a very long time. So for those of you who don't know me, good evening. My name is Edie Coonan. I was just watching highlights of a Georgia-Florida game where Georgia knocked the pants out of Florida, but you know, other than that, I'm here to talk about Richard Jacobson. My husband, Steve, and I have been very passionate supporters of JELF for many years, and we're so proud to have this award named in our honor. And each year we get to present it to someone, and it really is a highlight for us. Steve is right here, but he's right there with us, but he just has me on camera tonight. So let's just talk about Richard for a moment. Richard Jacobson retired 10 years ago from Cox Enterprises, just stealing a football quote. He really outkicked his coverage when he married Marcia. She's the most beautiful, sweet, kind person. And then the two of them have two of the most gorgeous daughters ever. I know that they're on Zoom tonight as well to support Richard. And each one is married to their soulmates. And from those unions are three precious grandsons and a new baby on the way very soon. So I personally have known the Jacobsons for a very, very long time, knew the girls as they went through the Epstein school, and to just see them in their lives now is just lovely. So Richard's been on the JELF board since 2018, so now he's in his second term. He's the leader of the operations committee, and he works closely in that role with Tamar and Kathy. Always asking questions, never afraid to speak up and learn more. He gets involved and has become more and more interested and curious, and thus more invested in JELF through his last 5 years, which is exactly what this award is all about. So in lieu of Richard actually speaking about himself tonight, because he always likes to do that, we're now going to share a few minutes of Richard through this video, which really helps him convey the passion he has for JELF.
I first learned about JELF about 5 years ago, a little less than 5 years ago. I got a call from Nancy Galani, and she asked about the kids and how we're doing, and we ended up having lunch. And at the end of the lunch, I knew all about JELF, and she's asking me, what do you think about joining? And my answer, of course, was a yes. And shortly after, I think the week following, I had coffee with Josh, and he filled in all of the details and cemented the deal, and the rest is history. I have been fortunate enough to participate in a lot of different committees and been to a lot of different meetings, and the most rewarding of all of it to me has been my participation in the loan committee, where I get to see and hear these stories about these kids, you know, trying to go to school in a much different situation than I was raised in and that my kids were raised in, but with the same desire to do the same things that, you know, my kids had. And you see them and you hear the stories and you come to the conclusion that somebody's got to help these kids get there and to do the things that they want to do. Jenna and the team, they are actually performing miracles daily. This year we're going to serve 400 plus people, and in the near term we've talked about numbers close to 1,000. My hope and dreams for JELF is that in the future there's enough resources there so that we can do thousands across many states and end up being the #1 place that Jewish kids can turn to get an education. I have known Steve and Edie for probably as long as JELF's been around, 125 years or so. What I've seen from them, I mean, they're true mensches in every sense of the word. They commit their time, they commit their money. They are exactly what people should be emulating these days. And it makes me proud to be working side by side with Steve and Edie. I mean, they're truly the kind of people that a board would love to have. If you've learned about JELF and you hear any of the things that I've said at all, you too will be hooked and realize that what you give, you're going to get back in multiples. When my grandfather was still alive, he was a man of many sayings. And one of the things that he had always told me, you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. You teach a man to fish and he eats for life. That's JELF. And to him, he had always instilled in us the value of education. So it makes me proud to be able to do something that would make him proud.
Richard, that was such a great video. Thank you so much. I'm just glad I got to see it in advance, or else I would be verklempt and couldn't finish my remarks tonight. So it's now my honor to present you, Richard, with the Steve and Edie Coonan Family Service Award for all of your leadership, JELF, over the past 5 years. I think you have it. I'm gonna see if I can find Richard on here. There you go. Let's see. There it is. I treasure mine, and I know you will treasure yours the same way. We're so appreciative of all the work that you do and look forward to watching you continue to develop as a JELF leader for many, many years to come. And on behalf of Steve, myself, the kids, we all love you. You're great. And I just wish you had a better football team to root for than the Florida Gators. But other than that, I think you're pretty perfect. So with that, I will turn it over to Josh.
Hi, everyone. I'm Josh Shire, JELF's Chief Development Officer. I've been with JELF for 6 years now. It's allowed me the opportunity to meet many, many special people, including those that you've heard from tonight. A big shout out and mazel tov to Jake on this awesome honor, and also to Rob on our new board chairmanship. We look forward to having you serve JELF. Before we conclude the annual meeting, I do need to remind you that despite all of our success, we were still short of meeting our total need for the year, about 20% shy of it. While I know that many of you have already contributed to JELF. If you haven't made your donation yet, there is still time. We've got 3 weeks till the year is out. We hope you'll do so before the end of the month. We really appreciate your dollars to JELF, but we also appreciate all your time. We are building momentum year over year, and I'm excited to see what 2022 has in store. So in conclusion, I just got to say thank you to everybody for joining tonight. I'd like to adjourn the annual meeting. We're going to stick around just for a few minutes just to say hello, but thank you all for being here. So that's it. Good night.